we need to be productive and to be able to find those perfect families, that forever family for our students, because they need us. Without us, we're the tool for their dreams to come true. So as coordinators, I'm going to tell you, especially branding coordinators, it is sometimes overwhelming, isn't it? Who feels overwhelmed as to where to find a placement or how to find a placement? Oh my goodness. I think we have all found ourselves in that place one time or another. And even as seasoned local coordinators, we often are in the position of sitting there and wondering, oh my gosh, I feel like I've tried everything. What can I do different? Where can I look? Where can I turn? And so today we're going to try to talk about a few ideas. We're going to brainstorm together, and I'm going to share some tips that I've used, and hopefully you guys can, at some point in the discussion, share a few tips that you've used, and together, because we're all working towards the same end goal, we can find some things that we can carry back into our communities to help us to be successful and find that success that we need. Because we are looking at a huge task in the next 2 months, but we can do it because ICS is the best. All right, so to get started, finding that needle in the haystack, finding that perfect or forever family for our students is sometimes a difficult task. I've been there, I know. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I'm from North Carolina originally. Years ago, I met my sweet husband on an internet site for singles. And I thought, oh my goodness, he lives clear in Las Vegas. It's not going to be a big deal, we're going to talk online maybe. And our online conversation was like 5 minutes only. Then he called me on the phone and we chatted, and that was all she wrote. He came to see me about a month later, and then we started our travel back and forth across the country, and we got married the next year, and I moved to Las Vegas, and it was wonderful. I have loved it. I lived here in 20 years, and then about 5 years ago, we moved back to North Carolina. And so, when I first moved here, we had a neighbor that asked all the time, will you host, will you host, will you host? And we had my husband's children and my children, and we had no more room in our house. We were bursting at the seams. And so I thought, oh my goodness, what is that all about? What can we do? What is hosting? And so every year, every season, January, summer, this neighbor would ask us, will you host? Will you host? Will you host? And I thought, oh my goodness, we don't have room to host. We'd love to. So when our older 3 kids moved out of the house and we're down to our younger 2, she says, will you host? And my husband said, we're going to give it a shot. So we decided, okay, let's do this. So we chose a young girl from Denmark. Her name was Frederica. And I was so excited, but I was really, really nervous at the same time. And I thought, what if she doesn't like me? What if she thinks our rules are too strict? What if she's a messy girl? I just had all of these thoughts as a new host mom experiencing this for the first time. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What if she doesn't like me? Seriously, I was so nervous. And we only talked to her like once or twice, and then she came. And she cried every day. Every day. And she ran away from school because she wanted to go home. And I thought, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? And she's just like, it's so big. I've never been in a school with 3,200 pupils before. I came from a little school with only a couple of hundred students. And she's like, I just miss my mom so much. I don't think I can do this. And she was just so sad. So in my house, I have boys. Our older 2 daughters were gone. And I thought, oh, what can I do? And, when you're a boy mom, it's kind of like, are you bleeding? Are you broke? Okay, shake it off, let's go. And, you can't really use that same approach with girls. And so I told my husband, I said, you gotta do this. I'm the boy mom, I'm not the girl mom, And so he was like, okay, and he was really sweet to her. And she was really struggling. So I reached out to my local coordinator and I said, listen, I think perhaps she may be a better fit for a family that has a teenage daughter that she can buddy with, because We're doing everything that we can, and she's just not truly happy. But if she had somebody that she had more things in common with, I think that it would be a little easier for her. And I wanted the best experience for her, as well as for my own family. And she said, oh, that would be great. She said, actually, we have another student that needs a help. We just flip-flopped, and everything worked out beautifully. So, that's where my journey began as a host mom. And then I became a local coordinator. And as I told you, I just moved to Las Vegas. I didn't know very many people at all, but it gave me an opportunity to get to know a lot of people. I got out of my community. I talked to my neighbors. I did things at the school or at the library in our community. They had Mom and Me, for the kids, story time, all kinds of fun things. And so and my son played baseball. Great opportunity for me to get out there and talk to lots and lots of families. And I became known as that's the exchange lady right there, because I would always take my work. My son played club ball and he played ball for high school, and so I was always on the baseball field. But I had my computer, I had my notes, I was on the phone. It just worked. And I got to know a lot of people. I got lots and lots of referrals. So one of the first things that we want to talk about is the fact that we have to step out of our comfort zone and be willing to try something new. And sometimes that means getting in front of people, which I think is one of the most effective ways to find host families. Sometimes in the beginning we want to hide behind our computer screens and send out a few emails. We want to make some phone calls, but we don't want to step out into the community. And I think that is the key to finding lots and lots and lots of potential host families. And one thing that is super important is that you're excited about what we do, what we have to offer, because your excitement is contagious. They're going to feel it. They're going to want to know, why is she all excited about this? And when we're excited about what we do and we believe in what we do, we are much more effective at what we do as local coordinators. So we're going to talk about places that we can network. And we're going to kind of open the floor up for just a few minutes. Let's go quickly. If you have an idea of some place that we can network, raise your hand and we're going to go. Joan.
Okay. Well, I'm old school because I've been doing this forever. But I used to be involved in Girl Scouts, and I found going to the Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts leaders meeting, because there's all these different troops in the communities, but the leaders get together and they have meetings. And those people that are the leaders of the troops, the scoutmasters, they know everybody because they know all the families and their troops. So they'll sometimes let you come in and speak at one of their meetings.
That is a great idea, and I am gonna bounce off of that. There was a state meeting here in Las Vegas, and I actually knew the Girl Scout troop leader who was in charge of that state meeting, and she asked me, Kelly, can you bring 4 or 5 of your exchange students, have them dress in their country garb, and come and talk to our students, our kids, about exchange and their countries and things that are unique about their countries? And they did. And you know what? I went around the community and I got lots of people to donate something into this great big basket. And we did a raffle of that basket. The basket probably had about $500 worth of contents in there. And every parent that was with their daughter from the state of Nevada, they filled out a little sheet and they put, oh, we're interested in learning more. We would like to host. How can I become a coordinator? So we use that as an opportunity to get tons of referrals. Okay, on the back. You had your hand up.
I never got in the house, and it blows all the time.
Okay.
And I asked the gal that was in the apartment, and a guy, Fernando was his name, you know anybody that can host exchange students? He goes, I think I do. So he's going to give me a referral next week.
Oh, that is awesome. And you know what? One thing we've got to always remember, whenever we talk to anybody about exchange, maybe they're not in the position right now to help us, but to help us host, but they are in a position to help us in another way. And I think that's what we need to always remember. We need to ask for their help. Many times they believe in what we do. They're excited about exchange, but maybe they have grandma who's broken her hip that's living with them. Or maybe they've got 5 kids in the house and they don't have anywhere else to squeeze another student. So we've got to think about that. Ask for their help and something else that they can do. Many times they will be willing to post something at work. Perhaps they will also be willing to send something to their church community. They'll be able to talk to people on their children's sports teams, whatever the case may be. Okay.
I just wanted to mention that you're going to have objections. You have to have an answer to the objections. Yours was you didn't have space at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This particular one said, but I'm going to be traveling. And I can't right now, but I'm going to be traveling. But that's okay. Can I call you next month or next year or whenever? Get a name and a number.
Yes.
When there's an objection, combat the objection.
Absolutely. And we want to always be in the driver's seat as local coordinators. And that means we want not only their name and number, I like to also go as far as to get an email address, because that gives us a variety of ways to be able to contact that potential family. And perhaps maybe right this second, they're not in a position to host, but come August, maybe their situation has changed. And we really need that family to be able to place that student. So keep good notes on any potential host family that you have. Okay, there was a hand up over here. Lucy.
Due to COVID this year, I lost 81 high schools.
Okay.
This year, so they wouldn't take it. So as you said, I had to think outside the box. So there are a lot of schools further in Mississippi. So I started calling the schools and asking if they accept exchange students. The ones that did, I put a packet together and I emailed the packet to the counselor.
Mhm.
Schools out. We're now starting to see the results of that because the counselors are handing out the little handouts, the leaflets, and we're getting response from it.
That is wonderful. So in order to be effective as a local coordinator in opening doors, we have to be willing to do a little legwork. Sometimes that's homework to begin with, and then getting out there and beating the pavement with our feet, dropping packets off at the schools. Maybe we have a Girl Scout troop or a Boy Scout troop that their leaders are willing to help us to network for families. So we need to provide them opportunities and availability of market materials, maybe some 3-page profiles of some students that are assigned in your regions that we are trying to place. So we want to be able to get those items in front of people that are willing to help us network. Do you feel like networking is all on your shoulders? Some of us yes, some of us no. Okay, so that's when we can spread out. That's where we need to branch out. If we have current host families, we need to ask for their help. They are wonderful resources for us as local coordinators. Also, when we have students in the country, we should ask them as well. One of the things I used to do whenever I worked as a regional director is I wanted to retain as many of my host families as possible. And I thought, what better way could I do it? I sat and brainstormed, and I thought, I am going to do what's called, it's kind of like a floating baby shower, but I called it a monthly mix and mingle. It not only included my students, but my students' families. I feel like that was a great way to be able to cement my relationship with them. Every single month we did something different. The very first one we did was cookies and milk. I provided the milk and all the paper products. I had all the families bring a couple of dozen cookies, and we all got together. Well, my family started getting to meet students from other countries outside of the one that they were personally hosting. Then my students got to build relationships with other families and other host parents, and it provided lots of wonderful opportunities. Not only did we have the opportunity to meet one another, but it gave families who maybe had to go out of town for business and needed somebody to watch their student an opportunity to call on one of the other host families that they had met at my monthly mix and mingle, so they were able to bond and be able to help each other from time to time. It also allowed families, after they met students from another country, they're like, oh my gosh, I love Paulo from Brazil. If you can find me a Brazilian guy, oh my gosh, I want to host a Brazilian student. And by January, and every single month, I would have some profiles laid on the table. All of my families were vetted, so I'd have profiles laying on my dining room table, and they would start to look at them. And before they like, hey, I want to host this student. I want to host that student. And by January, I had 3/4 of my families already signed up to host another student. So it really worked for me, and my family started to bond. They started volunteering years after that to start hosting. They would say, can we have a sign up for the Mix and Mingle for the whole year? And they would start to actually sign up. But we did things like pizza in the park. And one time we also had all families, in order to attend, they had to bring a potential host family with them that they thought would be a really good mix so that they could start to get to know some of the students. And I'm telling you, it worked for me. But that's why we got to be willing to try new things. And I was able to get repeat host families. I got tons of referrals. The students got excited. They're like, can I bring my friends to our Mix and Mingle? And I'm like, absolutely. And so it was a lot of fun. Patricia, you had a comment.
I was just going to add what you said about having to bring friends, potential family this year. And actually, our team here, they had a party where,
Yeah, in January, because Christmas season's really busy, we did a late New Year's Christmas with our students, and we set out 5 laptops where these were already vet families, so they can look at profiles, nitpick, and we placed 8 students at our January. Like, they were picked, done because our schools are really tough in Louisiana, in our parish especially. We get 5 spots, but we have to share that with 3 other organizations. So the quicker we can get them in, then the quicker we can claim our spots, which most of the time it works. But it's just nice to know, because they're excited still in January, your families. So you don't have as much objective to go, through, and they're all still excited, and they're ready to pick their next student, and they can communicate with sooner too.
Absolutely. And I found that oftentimes my student that I was hosting wanted to be a part of the selection of our student for the next year. And they started communicating, both of those students, the one that I have currently and the one that's coming, and it really opened a lot of doors and it answered a lot of questions for that student. So we're going to go back to networking. When we are networking, where can we go? I want some more ideas. Okay. Facebook groups, absolutely. Some of us are afraid of social media. Oh my goodness. That is a huge resource for us. And we have lots of materials that we can use on there. We have flyers that you can post on there. I am doing Canvas for you guys. And Paulo, stand up. Paulo is my cohort. He helps me a lot to create Canvas. Together we do that. We also create 3-page profiles that gives you a really great snapshot. You can print those. They're pretty, they're colorful. And you can use those at events that you may be holding in your community. Right now, there are tons of things going on. We have summer camps with sports and music and band. All of those summer camps are going on, cheer camps. We also have Vacation Bible School in a lot of areas. I've seen signs all over my community, Vacation Bible School. That is a great place for us to go to find host families. They're a Christian family. They want to give back to the community. I went and I stuffed little bags full of information about hosting and having a brother or sister from another country and how much fun that would be. And I volunteered my time, and they allowed me to put information in the packets that went home with every single child that was at Vacation Bible School. So sometimes we have to give a little bit. Right now schools are not in session, but another thing that we can do is whenever they're having school registrations, they're having spring flings, the fall festival, anything your schools are having from elementary all the way up through high school. If you engage yourself, volunteer, get out in front of people, we are going to find host families. I used to go and sit at the ticket counter at our high school, and I would talk to every single person that came up to buy a ticket to go to the football game, the soccer game, the basketball game. It didn't matter. I did it. If your students are playing sports, go. Make yourself available. Wear your ICS t-shirt. If you didn't get one, there's still a few floating around that you can probably pick up today. Make yourself visible. Right now, because we don't have schools, one of the things that I like to do is reach out to my local Chamber of Commerce. How many of you have done that? By show of hands. Oh, good. We have some people that have done that. That is wonderful. Great resource. They used to have a printed manual of all of the members of the Chamber of Commerce. Now, some of them have gone online, but you can still get a copy of the members of the Chamber of Commerce locally. And that is a great resource for us because I have had a couple of organizations that I have reached out to that have been willing to go before. I actually went on one of their lunch events that they had, and I talked to their employees about hosting and about exchange and culture and what a great opportunity they had to give back to our local community. And I asked them, would they partner with ICES and choose to sponsor 2 or 4 students? It depended on how large the organization was. And they said yes. And so what happened was the organization gave incentives to their employees if they would step up and share a cultural experience with an exchange student. And I found that to be very helpful. That is something that we can do right now. We can reach out right now to our local chambers of commerce, if we have not, and then start making phone calls and talk to that person that's in charge. And it may take us a couple of phone calls, but that's okay. They're going to start remembering who we are. That's Kelly Clark from ICES.
In my area, which is Middle Georgia, the Chambers of Commerce is called speed networking. And you sit across from somebody and you tell them what you do and then you move chairs, kind of like speed dating. So, and I found some families that way.
Okay, so she said there's a speed networking event at her Chamber of Commerce where it's kind of like you sit across from somebody and every 2 or 3 minutes you move chairs and then you share ideas or what you do with the people that are across from you. Wonderful resource for us. Okay.
I was just going to add to schools.
Uh-huh.
So I know a lot of us focus on high schools, but I also think the middle schools are a great opportunity. And I've got students to the middle school at lunch, and they've actually like written the student's name in like Spanish or Mandarin, and the kids really like it. And I've got a lot of kids, especially like rising ninth graders.
Mhm.
Going into ninth grade. So
That is a really great idea. The elementary schools often have lots of times where they will allow people to come in and read a story. And I have taken my students into the elementary schools to read that story and then to talk a little bit about their country, and it's really exciting for them. So we are going to shift gears just a little bit into events. Right now, there are lots of events happening. Things are starting to open up and everybody's so excited to get back out into the world. So in our community, we had the Strawberry Festival, and there were lots and lots of people. And Mount Olive Pickles, that's right down the road from where I live. Everybody sees them in the grocery store. They have a huge event every single year, which they just had. And they give you lots of free pickles, and you get lots of fun things, but there are thousands of people that come through there. We have the Dogwood Festival. There are things, the Seafood Festival's going on at the beach right now. I'm missing that. But that's okay because I'm glad to be here with each one of you. But lots and lots of things going on in your community. Now, perhaps you're like, well, how am I going to know where all of those things are? Let's go to social media. Go to Facebook and look at events and put in your town in the search bar menu. Everything that is going on in your local community, event-wise, is going to come up on your social media feed. You're going to see it. It's going to list it. It's going to give you the dates, not only for now, but through the end of the year. Usually those calendars are for the year-long events in your community. Now, do we want to stop with just your community? How big is our territory, guys? 120 miles. Okay, a lot of us may not want to go that 120 miles, but you know what? You want to branch out outside of your immediate area, okay? Let's branch out 25 or 30 miles. If we're not finding enough families or we don't have enough school slots there, we're going to go 50 miles out in every direction from our home. Look up those cities on social media and find those events. If we're not in front of people, we are not going to find host families. Because when we are face to face, we're real. It comes alive. It's exciting. They can feel our excitement. They can't feel our excitement over an email. I know I don't feel excitement over an email unless I win $1 million, and I've never done that. So, you know, I want to talk to people. I love to talk to people. If you're nervous about what to say, if you're a brand new local coordinator and don't know what to say, when I first started as a local coordinator, do you know where I practiced? In my bathroom, in front of the mirror. and I became familiar with what I wanted to share with my potential host families. Then, after I practiced a while in front of the mirror, I called my friends here in Las Vegas and I said, I've started a new venture. I am a local coordinator for ICES, and I would like to come and practice and have you give me some creative criticism. What are areas that I can improve on my presentation? And they said, absolutely. So I called 3 friends. I went to all 3 friends' homes. I did a presentation as though they were going to be my host family. Never dreaming in a million years that anyone would step up to say, I'll do that. But I gave my presentation, and at the end of the presentation, how many of those 3 practice host families do you think hosted for me? 2. 2 out of the 3 hosted for me. So I thought that was a pretty good ratio. And I just went to practice. So if you're brand new, try it out on some of your neighbors or your friends and invite them to host. You know what? If we never ask, the answer is always no. But if you ask, the answer could be maybe. Let me talk to my family about it. It could also be not this year, but can you call me back? And to me, that's a successful interchange, because that may mean I'm going to get a January placement or I'm going to have an August 2022 placement. And every placement is valuable. That's why it's so important to keep really good notes, because if they cannot help you right now, they can help us in the future. And when you call back, they're going to remember who you are. If you've written some notes and there are some things that can trigger that remembering of the conversation. I'm going to give you an example. I had a great family here in Las Vegas. They came to me as a referral. I was so excited. They had 3 daughters, really fun family, very engaged in the community, and I loved seeing them at my activities. They came with one of my host families. That's how I met them. And they signed up to host. They selected their student. They started actually communicating with her. And then the grandmother got really, really sick and had to have a really big surgery. And she would either have to go into a home or someone would have to take care of her. So they had to back out of being a placement for me that year. But they're like, we really, really, really want to do this. Please keep us involved. Can you please send us your monthly newsletter that you send to your families and involve us in your activities? We want to host. And so I kept in touch with them. Every month I would send them something. And that's the thing. If you guys have potential families that are interested but maybe can't help you right this second, email them. Send them the ICS newsletter. Send them a couple of profiles of students that you're trying to place and ask for their help. Do you know a family that is interested in this or that or whatever the student's interests are? I'm going to tell you something that I do. It's a little bit tricky, but I've done this several times. I've had some potential host families that I knew were going to be dynamite, but they were so afraid, and they sat on that fence, and I just could not sway them to say yes. How many of you have had that happen? A lot of us. Okay, so what I started doing, because I had their email address, and I knew that their child was into horseback riding. They were an equestrian family. And I had assigned in my pool several students that rode horses. So I snagged their 3-page profile out of that student virtual folder, and I attached it to an email to that family who already loved to ride horses, and their daughter rode and competed. And I sent, hello, Billy. I really need your help. I have 3 students who are really into riding horses. And I was wondering if you might by chance happen to know of any families within your equestrian club that you might be able to refer to me. Because most churches want their congregation to give back to the community. They believe in what we do. If you have not reached out to your local churches, do so. Reach out to the youth pastor. That is a great resource for us. Also reach out to the choir director, or some churches have a band. Reach out to them, because you know what? We have lots of students that play many, many instruments, or they sing, or they go to church. Maybe you have, the other day I did a 3-page profile for a student who was Catholic. We don't see that very often on our profiles. A lot of our students I said Catholic, I didn't mean Catholic, was Baptist, okay? We see lots and lots of Catholic students, but not very many Baptists. And she's like, I'm really engaged in my church. I love to sing in the choir. I do lots of volunteer work. I have lots of things going on. And I really want to be with a family who is also Baptist so that we can do the same things together. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, that was so cool. And so I knew a few areas that had lots of Baptist churches, and we had some local coordinators. So I sent them a personal email and said, hey, check this student out. And, we are working on a placement for her because we are matching the interests of that student. Years ago, I'm in Las Vegas. It is the end of placement season. We have like 10 days left. And I'm so excited because I have met my goal already for our region, but I'm still helping out because none of us are finished until every student has a home. And so I got an email that said, we have 20 students who play soccer, and they've all requested to come to Las Vegas. And I'm like, oh my goodness, 10 days, 20 students, how am I going to do this? So that afternoon I said, okay, that's it. I got online, I Googled all of the soccer clubs in Las Vegas, and there was like 100,000 pages of them. And so I took some off of every, the first 10 pages. I called. I asked to speak to the president of the club, or the administrator. I left messages. I sent emails, because many of them had an email address, but there was not a phone number, or no one answered the phone, and I'm like, I don't have time to waste. So I got busy. I got started. I'm like, I'm going to find these 10 boys. A family that also knows the dynamics of playing club soccer, because every one of them played club soccer. One was on the Olympic training team, and so I thought, I've got to find them a family that understands those dynamics. And so within 45 minutes, I had a call back from one of the ladies. She says, Kelly? I said, yes, it's Kelly. She said, I have a family for you. Here's his name and number. He's so excited. He wants one of these boys. He had 4 boys. He was a single dad. All of his boys played club soccer. And by within 48 hours, I had the application finished. Everything was done from start to finish. And I got the opportunity to go to an event that they were having at that particular soccer club, and I ended up placing most of my families my students with families at that soccer club. So use clubs in your local community, the equestrian clubs, piano teachers, band directors. How many of you have ever thought of using a piano teacher? I call them all the time. They are great resources. If we have a student that plays the piano, call up your local piano teachers that are in the phone book, in the directory. Oh my goodness, they're great resources for us. We have a lot of things at our disposal to find that family, that needle in the haystack. But we've got to be willing to try new things. We've got to be excited about what we do at ICS. We've got to let them know how much we love these students, and we want their dreams to come true, because they're counting on us. Without us, it's never going to happen. And I, for one, will tell you, I have had so many of my students come to me and personally thank me for placing them with their forever family. And there is no greater satisfaction than knowing that you had such an important role to play in helping that student to be able to come to the U.S. and to be able to experience what our traditions are, what our culture is, what our school culture is. It's very different for all of our students. Everyone comes from someplace different. They all have something to offer each one of us. But we have something greater to offer them. And they are counting on us. Without us, it is never, ever going to happen. So when we leave this conference on Saturday, I hope that we all have a few new ideas that we're willing to try. If you try something new, I want you to email me, kclark@icsusa.org. Tell me what you did. Tell me how it felt whenever that family said yes. because it will happen. If you're looking for a specific student who has a specific interest and you can't find them, call me. I am in the student profiles every single day. I am making 3-page profiles from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed. I can help you find that student that you're looking for. Your regional directors can help you find that student that you're looking for. But if you don't say, hey, I need a student who sings in choir, I'm not going to be able to help you because I don't know that you're looking for that. We want every single one of you to succeed. Everybody. And we can do that. Together, all of our students that still are waiting a family are going to have that family. But we've got to be excited about what we do. We've got to get in front of people. And if we do, we will find host families. Remember, if you do not ask, the answer is always no. Are there any comments or questions? Yes, Joan?
I just have tips, and I stole these from coordinators that gave them out, but I thought they were kind of fun. I piggybacked on something you were saying about big little flyers and things for the Bible schools.
Mm-hmm.
One of the coordinators went to the pediatric dentist office, and she printed little cards with like, host Eduardo who likes basketball 16, or host Emily who likes dance, or whatever. And the dentist put them in the little bags with those little toothbrushes and things they sent.
That's
to
an
the kids.
excellent
So I
idea.
thought that was really cool. And then the other one, it might have been Deb's idea. We're going to farmers markets, and you can go in the dollar store. Sometimes you get 10 little packages of seeds for $1, maybe flowers or whatever. But they took seed packets and put a kid on the back of that, Eduardo likes basketball, whatever, put on a popsicle stick and got a pot with some beans or something in, and stuck those in there. So everybody that came to their table at the farmers market got a packet of seeds with the kid's name and their phone number to call them to host. So there's some little fun things like that.
And when you're doing events, always have some kind of giveaway. A bowl of candy, some balloons for the kids, a color sheet that the kids can color while you're talking to mom and dad. It's really super important because if we're in front of them, we need to make the effort to at least get their name, their phone number, their email address. And oftentimes what I do is I will ask for that by saying, well, I know you don't want to walk around this entire farmer's market carrying all of my marketing material. So if you'll kindly put your name, phone number, and email address on this form, I'll give you a call, I'll send you an email, and I'll email you these documents. And they're like, oh, that would be great. Not really, so then I'm really going to use it to see if I can get them to host, but,
I have a question.
okay.
First, I wanted to also suggest the Rotary Club, because in my area, they're not bringing students this year.
Oh,
And
good
I just
idea.
went to Rotary from up in Massachusetts.
New England.
I talked to a woman and she was like, I don't want to host the whole year. So I wanted to ask you a twofold question, and we have very limited time. Talk about the welcome families and maybe splitting it between two families potentially.
Okay, so a welcome family, what I usually ask for is 6 to 8 weeks. I know ICS says we can go 4 weeks, but you know what? The kids we're rarely getting all of our kids here in that 4-week period. So I always ask my welcome families, will you be willing to welcome a student for 6 to 8 weeks and allow us some additional time to find them a permanent family? But it allows them to go ahead and get into the country and start school. Most of the time, I'm going to say probably 80% of the time, my welcome family turns into the permanent family for that student. So if you've got a welcome family, really work hard to match those interests. And a lot of times I'll pull my welcome student aside after they get here, maybe at our orientation, and talk to them about how important it is for them to really share their culture and to integrate within that host family unit, because oftentimes it does turn into that permanent family. And Joanne also asked about splitting a student. We haven't really had a lot of discussion about that yet this year, but last year we were able to maybe place a student with a family for first semester, and if we needed to switch that family for second semester, we did do that a little bit in the end to be able to get all of our students into a family, because we do have some students or some families that maybe they have big things that are going on in one semester or the other, and they can't take the student for the whole time.
They also don't want to host if their kid is a senior, so they'll do first semester and not second semester.
That is true. So that is something that I will definitely discuss with the national staff, because I think that is a very valid question. And a lot of times that can help us to get some additional families to get the students here. They can make friends, and then we can transition them to family number 2. Yes, sir. Oh, ma'am. Sorry.
So about splitting the students like that, so are the students asked permission if they're going to do that? Or
We did it last year. We just put them in, we did the paperwork as they were gonna be there the whole year, but then we made the transition and just let them know that we were gonna have to make some changes. So-
Somebody might say, like, I'm gonna take them the first semester, my girlfriend wants to take them the second semester.
Right. So sometimes we can already have everything already put together. And I feel like if we do have that information up front, it's easier to make that transition because the student is aware and they know, hey, I'm gonna get to, and that's not a bad thing. Guys, that really is not a bad thing because it allows them to have 2 American experiences with 2 different families, and every family is so different. So it allows them a lot of growth. So, yes, ma'am, are we? Okay, we got time for one more.
I just want to mention, I had a student 2 years ago that I placed him with a family that typically hosted Drew Road.
Uh-huh.
They said they would take my student. Well, we were at our host family orientation, and they told one of my other parents that they were only keeping the student half a year, and the host parent told me, and I'm like, what? They never told me that.
Right.
So, when it came time, we did find another family for the second half of the year in the same school district. But I had to really talk to the student because they felt like they did something wrong.
Right.
So it's important, I think it's important.
That they know. Yes, I do too. Okay, thank you all for coming. I loved having you in the class. Thank you for your comments.